I know no matter what I say at this moment, I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I'm innocent at any point, and I understand that.
This was supposed to be a sentencing hearing that quickly went off the rails.
The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and
You pled guilty, man.
Ms. Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to address me.
addressing
You are.
the state. I
You're addressing Mr.
apologize.
Giordano. You are going to address me. What do
My
you want me to
apologies.
say? What do you want to say to me?
So why is the Las Vegas mom pleading with the judge and the prosecutors after getting a plea deal? Well, because she claims she wasn't the one who decapitated the father of her kids. But there's so many layers to this story, we're really just scratching the surface. Thanks for joining us on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. Devyn Michaels initially agreed to plead guilty to murder, but then revoked her plea right as she was about to be sentenced. So maybe she can prove her innocence, because it looks like a jury will be deciding her fate.
I truly believed that we were going to do the right thing, and it just didn't happen.
Devyn Michaels was visibly emotional during last week's hearing. But how did we get here? Well, let's take a quick step back here. On August 7th of 2023, a woman called police to say she found her son, Jonathan Willette, dead. When police responded, they found Jonathan's body in his bed, but his head was missing. There was something else near his body, too. Bottles of bleach and ammonia. And officers noted it looked like those chemicals were applied to his body. Now, when officers spoke with Jonathan's mom, she said the last time she saw her son was the night before, when he was hanging out with his girlfriend, Devyn. So police were able to contact her and go to her home to interview her. But in her driveway, something was off. They found Jonathan's cracked cell phone with a dark stain on the screen that appeared to be blood. Now, police later executed a search warrant on Devyn's place, where they found more items belonging to her boyfriend, like his ID, the keys to his truck, his wallet, his social security card, and more. Maybe not super suspicious since the two were romantically involved or were, but the blood stands out, right? Then another tip came in, this one from Jonathan's mom, who informed investigators her meat cleaver was missing from her kitchen. According to a previous report by Fox 5 Vegas, Devyn did a polygraph test a few days later. When she was asked whether she participated in any way in the death of Jonathan, she had a significant reaction to that question. So what else did she have to say at the time? Well, she told investigators that she hit Jonathan with a wooden stick because she claimed he was abusive to her, and he allegedly tried to get her to perform a sex act on him. She reportedly told investigators that she didn't have any intention on killing him. She just wanted to hurt him enough so he would wind up in the hospital until she could figure out what to do with their children. She claimed she didn't remember, but it was allegedly very possible. According to a report by 8 News Now, prosecutors claimed Devyn threw Jonathan's head into the trash, and the garbage was likely taken by the sanitary crews. So his head was never recovered. Surprisingly, she was able to work out a deal for a lot less time in prison than you might expect. 15 years. Well, life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Again, despite allegedly decapitating the father of her children and throwing his head into the garbage like regular trash. Now, prosecutors admit Devyn never copped to decapitating Jonathan, but there were other clues leading them to believe she was behind his murder. That deal was worked out in September of last year. And just last week, she, like I mentioned, was supposed to be sentenced, until that didn't happen.
As you know, the defendant not only murdered her ex, but then desecrated his body by decapitating him and putting chemicals on his body, causing it to burn. The defendant admitted to the fatal blow. She never admitted to the decapitation portion, but the evidence was overwhelming that it was obviously her who did it. Another haunting fact, and something that should be concerning, which supports the life tale, is that the defendant had a corollary child abuse case that pre-existed this. Ms. Griffith and I reviewed the minutes in that case, and it appears that 2 days after she murdered and decapitated her ex, she appeared in court in front of another judge in this courthouse and made representations that she was staying out of trouble, and obviously had that on her conscience at the time, walked right back out of the courthouse, and then ultimately was developed as our suspect and arrested. We take this case very seriously, obviously the family does as well. We believe the sentence reflects the gravity of the crime, so we will submit it. We do have some updates on CTS, which was wrong in the PSI.
Correct. I calculated the credit at 455 days as of today.
Okay, that sounds correct.
Because I calculated it in regards to she was on probation when this offense occurred. She then got that sentence imposed. She was released on that sentence, so she started accumulating the credit on that day. And I have it at 455 days as of today.
Yes, and we also.
Ms. Michaels, what, if anything, would you like to say before I pronounce sentence against you?
There's so much I want to say. Jonathan was very special, very unique, and I know no matter what I say at this moment, I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I'm innocent at any point, and I understand that, but I can actually prove my innocence. I actually can, and I'm not gonna stop fighting to prove my innocence. I have more than enough, and Jonathan deserves to have the actual person who's guilty behind bars. I was helping Jonathan. I can show that I was trying to help him, and this I know is hurting the family, and I can see it in your faces, and I know your hearts are angry, and they should be, and I'm angry for you. And this is not fair to you. This has been dragging out for almost 2 years. It's not fair to you. And it's not fair to his children. Any of them. And it's not right. It really isn't. It's not. I've seen so much that it's just terrible. The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and
You pled guilty, man.
Ms. Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to
I'm not
address me.
addressing
You are.
the state. I
You're addressing Mr.
apologize.
Giordano. You are going to address me. What do
My
you want me to
apologies.
say? What do you want to say to me?
My apologies, I wasn't trying to address the state directly. It's just, I was told. I was just told one thing after another, and I truly believed that we were going to do the right thing, and it just didn't happen. I am so sorry for all of this, but I am so sorry. But I didn't do this, and I didn't know this would end up like this. I really didn't. And I will forever apologize to the family. But I don't know how to fix any of this anymore. I don't. I keep listening to what everyone tells me is the best thing to do. Just do this and it'll work out this way, and follow this advice and we'll do this. And I keep listening to the people because they keep saying this is the best advice. It doesn't turn out the way they tell me it will. And it just gets worse and worse. And I don't know what to do anymore.
Judge, I'm not comfortable with this record. I'm willing to let her out of her plea if the court is inclined.
I don't know how to fix this.
All right.
It's just, this wouldn't be appropriate.
I completely understand.
Let's go to trial.
Mr. Giordano. All right. Ms. Michael, Judge Mr. Giordano says that he's willing to let you out of your plea, and he's willing to try this case. And you understand that he's willing to try this case on an open murder. So a jury can convict you of a first-degree murder. Do you understand that? Or do you want to talk to Mr. Patrick about it?
I don't want to talk to Mr. Patrick. He didn't listen to anything I
Miss
said.
Michaels, I need you to understand what I'm saying to you and answer my question. Do
Yes.
you want to withdraw your plea and go to trial?
Yes, please.
All right, this plea is going to be withdrawn. Ms. Patrick, I need you to have some discussions with your client
Your
about.
Honor, I move to withdraw at this time. This case needs to go back to the appointed counsel.
Ms.
I will-
Michaels, hold on just one second. Ms. Michaels, you need to conduct yourself like this is a courtroom. If you cannot do that, then they're going to remove you because I still have business to conduct.
Yes, yes.
Do you understand? Mr. Patrick?
Judge, respectfully, I move to withdraw and have this case sent back to Office of Appointed Counsel. I am not in a position to accept appointment on this case should it go to trial at this time.
All right. All right, I'm gonna have to reach out to the Office of Appointed Counsel and get her a lawyer that's going to be appointed with the understanding this case is 2 years old. This case is not going to sit stagnant and wait around for a trial. So I'm going to reach out to Ms. Bush myself and have a discussion with her in regards to the appointment of counsel because this is not going to be, this case has been delayed extensively, and this case is not going to further be delayed so that there is no justice for everybody.
Yes, sir.
So a lot has changed in less than 10 minutes. Now Devyn Michaels will go on trial, and the attorney she has, or now had, said that he's removing himself. But like you heard the judge say, she'll now go on trial for open murder, meaning it's possible a jury might find her guilty on first-degree murder, meaning the possibility she had of parole won't be there if she's found guilty. I'm joined now by criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro. Sky, always great to see you. You know, I gotta ask, how often do you see a defendant revoke their plea right before they're about to be sentenced?
You know, this is one of those things that happens. It is unfortunate, but I think we've all been there at some point in our career. I spent the first part of my career at the public defender's office here in Utah and Salt Lake City. And it happens. You get a deal worked out and then your client gets up and says, hey, I want out. It's very difficult procedurally and from a legal standpoint to revoke a plea once you've entered into it.
Well, and how come? How come that's the case?
So when a person pleads guilty, they usually sign a plea form and then the judge goes through what we call a plea colloquy. And one of the things that they ask them is your plea knowing and voluntarily given? Have you been threatened, coerced, or put under any sort of duress to enter this plea? Have any promises been made to you other than what's been contained in the plea agreement been made to you to make you enter this plea? Are you satisfied with the advice of your counsel? They go through all of those things and then they tell them you can withdraw your plea, but it's really narrowly tailored and it has to be withdrawn prior to being sentenced. And it usually revolves around, was it a knowing and voluntary plea? And this was litigated in this case. It sounds like, they filed motions on it and the judge ruled against her just, I think, several days ago to revoke her plea in this case.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the turn of events, plus just kind of Devyn Michaels' very emotional reaction to everything, too, was pretty surprising. It's something, that part, I will say, you don't see too often. And I'm curious to know, Scott, do you think that she was trying to buy herself a little more time, or do you think that she really believes that she's innocent despite what feels like overwhelming evidence against her? But I know we were talking a little offline about how she never copped to decapitating Jonathan.
Right. So this plea agreement, when you're facing a murder charge, you're looking at the potential of life without parole. In Nevada, I think you have to do on a first-degree felony 20 years before you're even eligible for parole. So this plea agreement was really quite favorable to her. It was a stipulated sentence. It was second degree. Second-degree murder is a reckless mindset instead of an intentional killing. And all that was contained in the plea statement was that she delivered the final blow that killed him. Nothing to do with the decapitation. And the agreement was after 15 years, she's eligible for parole in this case.
And do you think it's possible that there's some other alleged killer just out there kind of who might be responsible for the beheading and she just was the one who had did the final blow? Or do you think it's possible that she might be kind of pulling the wool over everyone's head?
Anything's possible. We're not privy to all the facts in the case. She made a lot of allegations that evidence had been tampered with. It sounds like that was addressed at a prior hearing, and both her former defense attorney and the state essentially told the court we didn't find any evidence of that. And then she just sort of melted down in this case. I think, sure, there is a possibility. It does sound like most of the evidence, at least from what we've heard, points to her. And she did stand there, during her plea hearing and say, yes, I did it. I plead guilty to delivering the final blow. Now, she came back, the other day in her sentencing hearing when she wanted to withdraw her plea and said, essentially what she was saying is, I just did it because my lawyer told me, everybody was telling me to do it. My lawyer told me to do it. So sure, it's possible, but the risk she's facing, going to trial on a first degree murder is, they're very substantial compared to what she pled to.
Exactly. It's the possibility of 15 years and you could be out, or now it's possibility
Right.
you won't even get that possibility of parole.
And
Yeah.
I don't know her. I just want to add, I don't know her at all.
Right.
But I watched the sentencing hearing, and just having done this for so long and looking at just the way she conducted herself, if I'm the next attorney on this case, I'm probably going to get some sort of psychological evaluation to determine, whether or not she's capable to go forward. I think she's probably competent by a legal standard. But if there's something else going on, because you're going to probably want to be aware of that, as you move forward in this case.
Absolutely. And given that Devyn's defense attorney, before he withdrew, said that he didn't see this case actually going on trial anytime soon, do you agree with that?
I do. Murder cases take a long time to get to trial. I mean, we've watched, there's a bunch that we've watched in the media that have covered just this past year. These cases take a couple years. And so now you're talking about bringing on a new attorney. She's making allegations that things have been altered or evidence has been tampered with, that she has additional evidence. So there's probably going to have to be additional investigation that the defense team is going to have to do. Plus, you just have to balance that against a court docket. I think the judge did a good job in this case of saying, I acknowledge we're going to have to get newly appointed counsel. I think her defense attorney had no option other than to withdraw under the rules of professional conduct. I think the prosecutor did the right thing by just saying, I'm not comfortable. If she wants out, I don't want to fight this appeal battle. Let her out. We'll go to trial on murder. That's fine, right?
And he was quick to say that too. Yeah.
Right. And if he believes that his office tampered with anything or the law enforcement tampered with anything, he's probably not saying that. He's probably trying to keep the plea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't anticipate this case. I think the judge was pretty clear that, look, she's sitting in jail. We're not gonna let this languish forever. It's already, significant amount of time has passed since she was, since he died and she was arrested. But at that, it's still going to take, the better part of probably a year to get this case to trial.
Yeah.
The court dockets are busy, so you've got other cases that are already set. There's a lot of factors to consider.
Yeah, and of course it's Vegas too, so that means that there's a lot of cases going on because Clark County is pretty busy a lot of the time. And as a criminal defense attorney who may have had difficult clients in the past, maybe one or two, maybe possibly more, maybe even possibly less, I'm curious, what's it like defending a client when there's kind of this animosity there that you may not possibly be able to work with?
It's really hard, and it's harder when you're court appointed. When you're a private attorney, and the relationship crumbles, you sit down with your client and you say, look, you need to be able to trust your lawyer. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to work together to get the best outcome for you. And if you don't feel that way, you need to find someone else that you feel comfortable with. Now, whether you refund retainers or however you work that out. It's a lot easier when you're being paid or retained privately. When you're court appointed, it is really difficult because you get a lot more difficult clients in most respects. You get more difficult cases like this where, they're pretty egregious crimes. This is a terrible crime. They still haven't found, part of this poor man's body.
Yeah.
And, so you have to try to rehab that relationship the best you can, because courts and judges, at least in our jurisdiction, and I would suspect this is probably true across most jurisdictions in the country, just because somebody who has a public defender walks in and says, I don't like my lawyer, they're a public defender, I want a new one, you're not getting a new one.
Yeah.
Unless the relationship has really deteriorated, or you can make an argument under the rules of professional conduct that you can't continue the representation. But it makes it really hard because you have to spend then a lot of time trying to build that relationship, so that they trust you, so that you can adequately defend them. But I see it time and time again where people just stand up in court and tell judges, I want a new public defender. The judge is like, okay, why? Well, I just don't like him. He didn't return my phone call, whatever it is. And so it makes it hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, we've covered the Sarah Boone case, and I just remember she would put in letter after letter after letter, and I think by the end she was on like attorney number 8 or 9, probably in those double digits around that time. But that was Sarah Boone case. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But Sky, as far as possibly Devyn Michaels, now that she's going to trial, or what looks like she could be going to trial, do you see, because of the reaction she had in court prior to what was supposed to be her sentencing hearing, that it's possible she might want to take the stand to defend herself?
That's a tough one. Probably not. As her attorney, I would probably advise her not to take the stand, largely because she's probably not going to listen to what you tell her to say or do. And, not that attorneys tell their clients what to say, but you help them. This is how you answer a question. This is, how, tell the truth, but this, there's rules. Right. She's not going to be able to do that. She's going to get up there and say whatever it is that she wants to say, I would suspect. And it's not going to go well for her. Jurors are not going to be sympathetic. It's going to make her look crazy, like she did it.
Yeah.
So,
especially since
but
it's so
that being right. That being said, there are several decisions that clients alone get to make. One of them is whether or not to enter a plea. Another one is whether or not they want to testify on their own behalf. They have a constitutional right to do so. And if they choose not to, it can't be held against them. And as an attorney, you try the best to counsel them about what you think is best for the case. But in the end, it gets to be their decision. I have tried cases where I have begged my clients not to get on the stand, and they were determined, and it ended exactly the way you expect it to.
I know. I'm always thinking back to when the defendants get on the stand. Sometimes it does work in their favor. Other times, and more often than not, it really doesn't help at all. But we'll see in this case, I guess. Right. Sky Lazaro, I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight into this. Before we sign you off, though, where do you think everything goes from here?
I think the first thing that needs to happen is she needs to get reappointed counsel. So they're going to have to, I'm sure they have a commission or a committee that does that. And then they're going to have to get up to speed. She said, I think the judge said a status hearing for July 31st. I think they're probably hopeful that they at least know where they're going in terms of appointing someone to represent her. This is also a murder case, so you have to have someone who's qualified to do and experienced enough to do murder cases. And then, they're going to have to get up to speed and probably litigate this case. I think we're going to see a lot of pretrial litigation in this case. There was some mention about her statement that she was in maybe a psychological state when she talked to the police. So, I could see some litigation to suppress the admissions that she made to police at the time. So I think, first things first, we have to get a lawyer and give them, time to get discovery and get through the case and then kind of formulate a plan from there.
Yeah. So big next steps is lawyer, hearing, and then we'll see what all happens.
Right.
Skylar, Zara, I want to thank you so much for your insight into this. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Now, the judge did schedule another hearing in this case for July 31st, but as of right now, no trial date has been set yet. Thanks for joining us on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner.